10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Manchester United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? It is Tuesday, the 6th of September. I've actually checked the date before I've gone live there. I've never managed to do that. But how are we all doing? It's a couple of days after the game against Arsenal. Tell you what, Arsenal fans are salty as hell about this result on Sunday. The fallout's been quite spectacular, if I'm being completely honest. Given I did a little bit of research this morning. They beat Man United at Old Trafford in the Premier League in 2020 in the COVID times when it was an empty stadium. But the last time I believe they won there was 2006 before that, unless I read the results wrong. Wow. Anyway, I'm going to run through. I mean, the main focus of today is not Arsenal or their salty fans. It's going to be about the Glazers. It's going to be about Gary Neville's fresh calls for the Glazers to sell Manchester United. There were reports yesterday in the Daily Mail of a £3.7 billion price tag going on Manchester United, which I think I covered yesterday in a little bit, but I'm going to dive into a little bit more detail this morning because, as we all know, the big focus should always be around the Glazers. And that's something that I feel is different this time. And I've said this quite a few times here on United People's TV. It feels like the energy is continuous now. It's not just going to get buried and come back in a couple months' time with the protests. That's something the 1958 have managed to change. I'll run through all of that with you this morning. Good morning to you, Bully. I'm going to read that, see what members have got down here in the comments. Al Williams, good morning to you. Dylan, I can see you there. Vicky, good morning to you. Or make sure you don't be... Well, you can donate memberships if you want today, but I'd like your marriage to stay there. Daisy, nice to see you there this morning. Alan, who else you got? They got Jonathan Rose, is always on Facebook. How you doing, buddy? Buddy? That's a really cool name. Donald Hausenfluck. I don't know why, but I like that name. How you doing, Donald? Danny Jones, lots and lots of you down here this morning, as always. And first and foremost, before we do get the show started, the link to the latest podcast, you can see it's a pinned post on pinned comment, on YouTube and on Facebook. If you look in the link in the description of the video, the link is there. It's me, it's Neil, it's Bao. It's a good one. After the Arsenal game, we had some big smiles on our faces. We really, really do. And it's fantastic to really talk about that game at Old Trafford, the protest before it, Anthony's debut, Ten Hag. There's so many different positive talking points around Manchester United at the moment. It's good. I like it. It's my sort of language. You know that full well. I haven't been around here on United People's TV for a good long time. But United at the moment, this moment in time, no, we haven't made it. Things aren't. This is Manchester United are not back. But it's good that we are in the right direction now, especially after those first two games against Brighton and Brentford. That really, really was. Look, as David's saying down there, let's not get carried away. David, no one's getting carried away. But you can have reason to be optimistic now, genuine reason, because I think I said this yesterday, and I said it on the podcast as well. If I was asked to sort of explain Solskjaer's direction and his tactics and what he wanted Manchester United to do and what he wanted to get Manchester United towards, I would have kind of struggled to have a 10-minute sort of a conversation of clarity on that. But with Ten Hag, I can confidently explain his tactics, his football, what he wants to do, what he wants the players to do. And I think that's coming across to the players. It feels like the players know what they are doing. And we're seeing that in the response to that game to the games since Brentford. It's been great. We've got Real Sociedad on Thursday. My starting 11 for that is going to go out at 6 p.m. tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of changes, and there has to be a lot of changes. Erik Ten Hag's going to have this season, more than most seasons, probably. The quality of your squad is so significant. And we've got 9 games in October, and we can't play that starting 11 that we played against Arsenal every week. So it's going to have to keep the players happy. How do you keep the whole squad happy? You use games like the Europa League. That's why I'm going to run through my 11 later on. But let's focus on the main story, the main headline for today. And it's all about the Glazers. Now, I mean, you know full well but my feelings towards the Glazers and my feelings that have been there towards the Glazers for a long, long time. I remember when I was in Ghana doing videos on Woodwards and way before that as well. The Glazers are the biggest problem at our football club. Have been for a long time. Fergie was the manager who managed to navigate that situation and still deliver trophies. But eventually the Glazers sucked the ambition out of our club, bled our club dry of that ambition. And because that's the leading thinking. I don't know how to describe it. The Glazers don't care about Manchester United winning the Premier League. The Glazers don't care about Manchester United winning the Champions League. As long as we get inside that top four, that is what serves them well. But I wasn't capable this season without investment. The investment came out of nowhere after going after Arnautovic and Rabiot. We signed Anthony and Casemiro in absolutely wild end to the transfer window. I'm so glad it's over because we can start having more conversations about this, putting a bit more spotlight on where it needs to be. And Gary Neville, right? I've been trying to get Gary Neville on United People's TV for a good long time now. I need to try and find an email address or a phone number from someone. I'll try and reach out to a few more people. But make sure if you can, go and tag Gary Neville and tag United People's TV in it. Just send a tweet out because it's what I want to do is bring him on here. Gary Neville is one of the leading voices when it comes to football in the UK and one of the leading voices when it comes to Manchester United and commentary on Manchester United. So to have him speaking out about the Glazers, some of you would be like, why didn't you do that as a player, X, Y, Z? And it's kind of what happens in the modern day. Like, if you do something right, somebody will find a way to spin it into something wrong and ask you, well, I know you've done that now, but why didn't you say that 2 months ago? I know you're saying this, but why aren't you saying this? And it's kind of like detracting away from the positiveness of Gary Neville speaking out about Glazers. Now, you're right. He should have been speaking about it earlier. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what we've got now and how we can use this to continue this fight against the Glazers, because you need people like Gary Neville speaking in public about it. Because effectively, me and what I'm doing here on United People's TV, it's kind of like an echo chamber. We've got we're a brilliant community, but our voice needs to be louder and pushed further. And that's where someone like Gary Neville can really help in that sense. Now, he tweeted this just after we finished yesterday, actually, on our live stream in the morning. He said, I may be completely wide of the mark. You're not, Gary. But my gut feeling is the Glazers have to sell. They've committed to a new plan and stadium redevelopment. You know, you remember that we've had the development teams come in that have done the assessment. So I think there's somebody who's now been chosen for the Old Trafford development, or a firm who I think was in control of the architecture behind the new Spurs stadium and a couple of others. And I don't know whether I think the Carrington conversation is separate to that. But back to this, he said they've committed to a new plan and stadium redevelopment, and the costs are substantial. I can't see them raising further debt at the level required. The timing feels right to sell. And it's the stadium, the Old Trafford redevelopment and Carrington redevelopment. We're at a crossroads now because our facilities are no longer world-class. Our facilities, they're just not. They're decrepit. They're old by comparison of what our rivals have all done around us. And that's why the investment is just an absolute necessity. And the only way you can really do that, well, there's two ways of doing it. Number one, you've got such a ridiculous amount of money that you can just drop 600, 700, 800 million on a stadium redevelopment. That doesn't really happen. The other one, three ways actually, my bad. That's number one. Second way, you sell the stadium naming rights. And for me, that's the absolute best way to do it. Look, the new camp will always be called the new camp. It might be called the Spotify new camp now in terms of the promotion that all they're doing. But it doesn't matter. It's still the new camp. Hell, look at it, man. What do I didn't even think about it there. What did I just call Manchester United's training ground? I called it Carrington. I didn't call it the Aon Training Complex, which it has been legally for like years now. I still called it Carrington. Even Ten Hag called it Carrington when he was speaking about it the other day. He didn't call it the Aon Training Complex. Names are irrelevant. I don't care if it's Pepsi Old Trafford, Coke Old Trafford, Apple Old Trafford, Spotify Old Trafford. It would still be called Old Trafford to all the fans around the world, regardless, as long as you don't get a huge like Spotify or Apple logo at the top of the stadium, which I don't think it would be. But that's the second way of raising money. And the third way, of course, is a massive loan. And we know exactly what the Glazers would love to do. Take out a huge loan, leverage it against the club again, and not have to pay for the stadium redevelopment. That's what they would want to do. And I think that's probably why Gary Neville's speaking out about it now, because he can see that's the point. He knows full well that the Glazers would like to do that. But there's a lot we need to go through and speak about the Glazers this morning. Ice Waller, what are you saying, sir? Saying the dilemma do we have new owners like the Saudis with all the baggage that comes with them, or the Glazers? That's the real dilemma. Well, no, it's not a dilemma per se because of what you said at exactly the end. Ratcliffe in. Ratcliffe is a man who is a Manchester United fan, Britain's richest man, somebody who has a long history of investing in sports teams. That's the dream. When it comes to Manchester United becoming a state-owned football club, well, shit me. I don't think I could condone that. I don't think I could. I really, really don't think I could. Not after everything that we would. It will make Manchester United fans look like fools after everything that we've done and said about Chelsea and what the Abramovich money has done for the Premier League. Either after everything that's been said and done about City and the oil money, if we were to then be the next version of that, that wouldn't sit right with me. It really wouldn't sit right with me. Ian, it's definitely something I'm going to be doing. I just need to bring someone in to... Actually, I've got someone. Let me write that down, actually. Sorry, I'll try and remember it. I'm going to be doing a video on that, on Jim Ratcliffe's business model at Nice in terms of what happened when he went in, how much did he buy it for, how involved has he been, what's happened since he's arrived at Nice. Because I think that's the best example we could have of what Jim Ratcliffe has done there and what he could do at Manchester United. But the scale, of course, is completely and utterly different. Now, on top of what Gary Neville said here about the Glazers, about the fact that he feels it's the right time for them to sell, he spoke about them in his post-match Sky Sports podcast after the game against Arsenal. He said this. He said, Manchester United have had to do what they've done in previous seasons, which is to appease the fans. The Glazer family, I'm going to mention them. That's what they do. They buy players. They sack managers to basically get the fans back on side and try and quell the absolute discontent that's occurring. But the fans are still singing about the Glazer family throughout the game, before the game, and even at the end of the game. And that's exactly what is different at this moment in time. That's why I keep saying, about this energy and momentum again behind it. It's better than it's ever been. It's stronger than it's ever been. It's more consistent than it's ever been. And that's a big thing. And I keep saying that's probably the most impressive thing that the 1958 have done. I was there at the march for Liverpool, and it was brilliant to be part of that. See so many United fans all marching for the club. It really was. It was great. And then even if it's not that, it's still a protest outside Old Trafford in front of the Trinity statue before Arsenal. And no doubt before, I think we play Leeds at home. No doubt before the Leeds game, there will be something else there. I don't know whether anything's going to be organised in time for the Real Sociedad Europa League game. I imagine probably not. It'll be quite hard to mobilise 2 protests a week when it comes to home games. So I think it'll be the Premier League games. But I don't know. Jonathan Rose saying, how can I contact the 1958? I'm presumably on their website. Presumably anyway. But look, when it comes to Old Trafford, I want to pull this up. And I've pulled this up already. Stadium redevelopment concept I've seen. And Real Madrid have done this at the same time as winning the Champions League and winning La Liga. So you can do both at the same time. But that is a ridiculous investment. NXT going down there saying, I hate modern stadiums. Dude, you kind of sound a bit like me on the podcast, like a grumpy old man. Oh, it was better back in my day. Yeah, things are different. Things have changed. But this is what it's gone towards. And this is what Manchester United now need. Because look, this is the big question that keeps getting asked. Do we redevelop Old Trafford or do we build a new stadium? In my opinion, I mean, Old Trafford is so decrepit that you would effectively be stripping it back to what you see on the outside and building it up brand new again. I don't know how you do that. I mean, Manchester United would need a new stadium for, I would say, at least 2 years where we play football. If you're trying to do it where you play at Old Trafford at the same time as redeveloping Old Trafford, then you have to do it completely differently. You have to close off part of it. The scale of the job incomprehensible. But so is just Manchester United just not ever doing anything to Old Trafford, which is what we've done for so many years. Burke, let me know where you're watching from, buddy. Paulie saying, look, Old Trafford needs that. Old Trafford does need that, man. Look, this is just wrong. It is. It's wrong, man. You can't say it's not decrepit at all. Like this. Right. I'm not getting into an argument about that. I'm really, really not. But if you think Old Trafford is just good enough as it is, right, fair play. You'd probably be decent on the Glazers payroll there. I struggle to see how Manchester United can redevelop Old Trafford while still playing at Old Trafford to the level that would be required. But let's find out what happens. Regardless of that, as I said, what the 1958 are doing at the moment, it's brilliant. Gary Neville is... I really want to get Gary Neville on here. I want to get him on for like a full podcast to just have a conversation about him. I think Gary Neville maybe might be looking at fan channels, maybe United fan channels, and thinking, all right, maybe it's not, I'll step away from them. But like, if he ever, I suppose, well, he's never going to watch United People's TV, but do what you can, ladies and gents. Tweet him, tag United People's TV. I'd love to get Gary Neville on here because I think it'll be a powerful interview if we manage to make it happen. But what the 1958 are doing, and they have done, it's fantastic. It's given fans a voice. And of course, the protest outside Old Trafford, it got the megastore closed on Sunday. And you can see this has happened quite a lot now. If I scroll down here, this video here. So this is a video of a Glazers out banner being put up in the East Stand, I think it was. Let me just turn the volume down there. I think that was a video of, yeah, it's a banner going up in the East Stand. You can see down here, stewards again coming, taking banners away. Now, this happened to Alex Neild in the TRA disabled section, I believe it was. And they were told that it wouldn't happen again. Whereas you can see over there, it's happening again in the East Stand. And if you scroll down here, you can see all the different banners that were out in force at Old Trafford. Avram is a gimp. That made me laugh. But look, Manchester United fans will continue to do whatever we can do. If we can do that at the same time as Gary Neville speaks out about it, if we can somehow sync both of those, then the energy continues behind it. Now, I will go on to the story now about the price tag, the 3.7 billion price tag. We'll have a little discussion about that and a discussion about Jim Ratcliffe and randomly Lewis Hamilton. I know, it's a bit of a weird one. And you're saying, look, from what I've heard, as many as 30,000 seats would need to be decommissioned for at least 8. But the concept of being able to redevelop Old Trafford to the state it needs to be redeveloped to, whilst also playing at Old Trafford, I don't know how you get your head around that. That is project management on a completely and utterly different scale to what my little tiny mind can cope with. My gut tells me a new stadium is a simpler option, might be the wrong way to describe it. But as long as it's at Old Trafford, as long as it's built inside the same land there, it will still be called Old Trafford by fans. And of course, you're going to lose that. There will be the nostalgia attached, to Old Trafford. And I don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose that. But what would you rather have? We stick around in a home that's falling down, or we move next door into a brand new, built for the modern age stadium? Because this stadium hasn't seen the Premier League title lifted in there for 9 years. It hasn't seen the Champions League lifted in there ever. It's not seen the Champions League trophy back there since 2008. We have to make sure that we don't just get stuck as a football club, stuck in nostalgia, because us being stuck in talking about nostalgia is, we've done that at the same time as City have won like 4, 5, 6 Premier League titles. Same time as Liverpool have won their first Premier League title. I mean, what's more important to you? What's more important to you? For me, it'll be Manchester United getting back to being the modern football club that we absolutely need to be. And Old Trafford and the redevelopment of Old Trafford, whatever that is a fundamental part of that. And that is why Gary Neville is absolutely spot on. It's not just about the timing of the stadium, but I've told you, it's the timing of the investment required to protect the value of Manchester United as an asset, right? Because the Glazers just leached off the legacy value of Manchester United, but they bled that dry. That's why the investment went so crazy this summer, because they knew full well their value. They didn't fucking spend a penny, ladies and gents, all right? The Glazers didn't just go into their pocket and find 200 million. They allowed our football club to spend our money. Wow. So generous of you, owners. Aren't you the greatest fucking owners in the world? I refuse to get drawn into arguments with any other football fans. The Glazers have spent X, Y, Z. I'm sick and tired of it. I can't be bothered. I really can't. If they don't understand it by this point, then they never fucking will. And I don't want to waste my time having those conversations. But I will, hopefully, try and get Gary Neville on here to have a conversation about it. It really would be great. Swallow, you're saying, with all this protest, I genuinely think the Glazers can't ignore the movement. Even if they ignore it, the sponsors can't. The protests need to continue. And it's an excellent point there, Swallow, is that, yeah, the Glazers might be able to just go back to Tampa Bay, bury their head in the sand and say, this will blow over. But if you're a team viewer, I saw somebody say this as a suggestion, and I thought this was really good. If I was to go back here now, and I was to look at these, right? If I was to look at all of these banners, Glazers out, Glazers gone, Glazers out, party is over, Joel, Withenshaw Reds, Glazers out, time to go, Abraham is a gimp, Glazers out. They're all good and well, but what would happen if you put Team Viewer's logo on that? What would happen if you put Adidas's logo all over that? You wouldn't therefore be doing a campaign against just to getting the Glazers out, because maybe they'll just be able to ignore this in the same way that they've been able to ignore it for years and years and years. Oh, shit. Damn it. Have I finally got done? That's a good name. I'll give you that. Damn it. I hope I managed to avoid that. I might not have, though. You motherfuckers. Sorry. Anyway, that was bound to happen at some point. Fair play if you've actually managed to get me there. But look, as I was trying to say, it was a very articulated point. I got. You son of bitch. Dear. Damn it. You've ruined me now. You've ruined my flow. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The Glazers can ignore it all they want by going to Tampa Bay and saying that these protests aren't happening. But if you're Team Viewer, if you're Adidas, if you're anybody else, and you're seeing your logo attached to the to these banners, as something that's therefore hitting your brand badly. It really is hitting your brand badly. So maybe the banners had to be slightly reworked. Either way, I'm enjoying what's going on with the protests at the moment. And of course, it's all leading to this conversation here. It's all leading to this conversation. It's coming out in this is from Mike Keegan, right? In the Daily Mail. And he's saying that there's a 3.7 billion price tag on Manchester United from the Glazers, which to me on the surface feels undervalued compared to what I would expect Manchester United to be sold for. But maybe I'm wrong, because if you were to go over here now and you were to look at, right, of course, the Chelsea deal is the one that's going to set precedent. If you're looking there at a 3.75 billion, all of us were expecting somewhere in the region of like 5 to 6 billion. I don't know, a lot. But the Chelsea were bought for 4.25 billion, right? But part of that was a guaranteed promise to invest 1.75 billion in the stadium, in players, in investment into the club. So that wasn't a 4.25 billion price being put on Chelsea. It was actually a 2.5 billion price with a guarantee to spend money. I really want to ban you, but I can't ban you. I've got to rate the hustle. God damn it. It's taken me this long to get there, I'll be honest. It had to happen at some point. It's fair play. But yeah, 4.25 bill for Chelsea included that 1.75 billion promise to spend money on the stadium, on players. So a 3.75 billion price tag on Manchester United alone, maybe that's not completely out. That would be 1.5 billion more than Chelsea. And when you say it like that, you go, okay, does that make sense? What do you think? Genuinely, right? What do you think is the price for Manchester United? We've now seen a price here of 3.75 billion. I remember a couple of months ago, we were talking about prices in excess of 5 billion, sometimes in excess of 6 billion. What do you think would be the price of Manchester United? I'll be interested to know what you think in the comments, because it feels, as I say, it feels like something different this time. We've even got Jim Ratcliffe, who came out I remember when this interview came out. I was out at my parents' house trying to have a nice relaxing evening, and this came out, and I was like, shit, I've got to go back and go live ASAP Rocky. And I did, because I was so excited by the idea of it, because Jim Ratcliffe came out, a spokesperson for him came out and said, look, I want to buy Manchester United. So that's why it's different this time with the Glazers. We've got a prospective owner who's come out and said, look, I'm ready. I'm going to see how much you think down here. 3.5 bill doesn't include the debt. Yeah, it won't include the debt, which stands at around about 600 and so million. So that would raise it to just over 4 billion for just the debt and that value of it. But let me see what you're thinking down here in the comments. Right. Invest, you're saying 4 billion. Aditi, you're saying 5, 4.5, 3 billion only. No chance. Corey, you're going as high as 6. Carl, you're saying 4.5. Chris, stop drinking this early. 10 billion. Matt, you're saying 5 billion. No, there's absolutely no way that Manchester United as a football brand globally is worth the same as Chelsea. It's not even slightly close. It really not slightly close. And the price is what the Glazers are prepared to sell for. No one knows, of course. But remember that the Glazers, of their own money, the Glazers invested about 200 and something million in buying Manchester United. And they took the rest out as a massive loan. They've already taken out like in between like 400 to 600. They've already made a profit on the money that they bought Man United for, and let alone the utter profit that they're going to make when they sell us. 3 billion would still be 3 billion profit. 4 billion will be 4 billion profit. It staggers me that they're just sitting on this huge amount of money that they could just cash out on and invest elsewhere. They're not very fucking smart businessmen, in my opinion. Right now, they're not the smart businessmen. The society, what are you saying? Where can we grab these green and gold kits? I don't buy my shirts for United, but I need me a sharp in green and gold. Drop me a message on Twitter, and I'll send you a link to it. Loads and loads of you sent me messages yesterday. I gave you all the link and a little discount code as well. The new stadium would cost probably close to... I don't know what the new stadium would cost, but it would... I mean, Wembley was, I think, 900 and something million to be built from scratch. I imagine the redevelopment of Old Trafford to the scale of what we saw at the Bernabeu there, in excess of 750 million. I think so. I really, really think so. Ian, you're saying, look, they need to avoid capital gains tax, dividends of tax. Yeah, okay. But I'm sure there are sort of like nuances to it all that I don't quite understand. But the idea that the Glazers are happy to sit on a 20 million per year dividend instead of, oh no, they've done it for long enough. Surely they're going to cash out at some point. Yeah, look, John, mate, it makes us all sick. It really makes us all sick. But going over here, back to this point here on Jim Ratcliffe. I randomly didn't know these quotes existed, but Lewis Hamilton, he was involved in the sort of Chelsea takeover time. Apparently, I didn't know that, actually. He was part of a consortium alongside Sir Martin Broughton. Sir Martin. And Hamilton, of course, is a Mercedes driver in F1, and Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos is one of the principal partners of them. This is what Hamilton said about, because he was asked about Manchester United. He goes, Jim is part boss, but partner. I'd say we're more partners because we're in this together, and I hope in future to do something with Jim and build with him. I don't know where that will be or what that will be, so I can't really say. I haven't had a call from him asking if I want to be involved in a United bid yet, but I do want to get more and more involved in teams because I really do believe in black ownership. There is a lack of it in sports, and black equity, again, there is a real lack in that. So, randomly, I mean, this is really, really random. Lewis Hamilton's part of the conversation now. You've got LeBron James. He owns part of Liverpool. I think LeBron James might be involved in something to do with AC Milan too, as well. I'm sure there are other examples of it across the world. We're being completely honest. There's only one person that we want and only one person that we need. And that would be Jim Ratcliffe. And I would love, I mean, the time is right now for Jim. It really is. The time is right. Now, you might say down here in the comments, Sam, man, the Glazers have just given the okay, the green light to spend 230 million on new signings, the most we've spent in a single transfer window ever. Why are they going to sell? It's because that window was not a one-off. That window was a window into what is coming. The investment required for competing in the Premier League is nowhere near what it was when the Glazers took over. Nowhere near. You have to pay up now or watch others rise ahead of you. West Ham spent 150 million people. Nottingham Forest spent 150. Spurs spent 150 million. And when you put those into context, for Manchester United to spend 220, 230 million, it's not that much more than West Ham or Spurs. Would you in a summer transfer window expect Manchester United to spend 80 million more than West Ham? Yes, you would. Would you expect us to spend 80 million more than Nottingham Forest, newly promoted Nottingham? Yes, you would. And Spurs, yes, you would. It's all relative. And Manchester United spend was relative to what happened in the Premier League, but it's only going to happen every year. This is just the way it goes. The Premier League, the coffers in the Premier League are swelling. I mean, I think in the Premier League this summer, there was more spent in the Premier League combined than Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, and Liga combined. Just in the Premier League. It's crazy. Shane Costello. It's a very safe username. I'm going to have to read the usernames now because of you, Ice, down there. You ruined it for everyone else. I'm going to have to read the usernames before we start. The trust has been broken on the channel. I'm not getting done again. Shane, Sam, what a Sunday. That makes sense. Remember, the debt leverage against a club and it's for a majority share could be close to valuation. Well, maybe we don't particularly know what the value is. As I said, for me, that strikes me as low. The idea that 3.75 billion, that'd be nice. 3.7, it feels less than what I would expect Manchester United to be sold for. But we know full well that Jim is there. Jim wants it. And Gary Neville, as I said, ladies and gents, I'm going to keep imploring you as a community. Let's join it. The community is growing and growing and growing. Let's try and harness the power of this community in trying to get Gary Neville on here for an interview. So I implore you on Instagram, on Twitter, just tag him and tag United People's TV in it as well. Let's see if we can get him on because that would be a fantastic interview to do on the channel. Gautam Girish, you joined as a member. Let me know where you're watching from, buddy. And Gunkshi, yeah, man, you've got a new computer. You're there. You can even join as a member. What a don. Nice to have you here. Let me go down here and read a few of your comments out. Corey, you're saying, look, Forbes value Man United at close to 6 billion, presumably dollars you mean there. I don't actually know what the current exchange rate is. Probably over in excess of 5 billion though. What are you saying down here? Graham is saying, look, the Glazers will be doing everything to raise its value before they sell. I reckon they bought to hit top 4, then they consider selling. It's what I've mentioned before. The Glazers can't just sit back and enjoy the legacy value of Manchester United anymore. It's been too long since we won the league. It's been too long since we won the Champions League. We're now diminishing in value. We've lost commercially. We're stagnating as a football club. Last 5 years, the commercial growth has stopped completely. And it's because of that. That's what I mean. That's why Gary Neville, what he's saying, it's right to keep doing it. The time is right. And it's something I've really, really felt this year. In previous years, to try and get the Glazers out, it's been like the fans want the Glazers out, but the Glazers are fine sitting as they are sitting. Now it feels like at the same time as the fans wanting the Glazers out, I really feel like it's a time where the Glazers can look at it and go, you know what? It might be the right time for us to go out. From their own selfish business point of view, it might suit them at the same time that it might suit us. And that's why I feel now more than ever, there's genuine energy and genuine potential. And on top of that, we have a prospective owner who's come out publicly to throw his name into the hat. That's why it's different now. That's why it's far different to anything we've seen before. And I will continue to be very vocal against it here on United People's TV. You've seen all the work that I've done. You've seen all the work that I will continue to do. And you know what? Before we quickly move on, I apologize if you've seen it before, but these are the videos I'm most proud of here on United People's TV. I put a lot of work and effort into these because I feel that they can be used as energy against the Glazers. I want to play the latest video from the protest. It's only 4 minutes before we move on, and then we talk about the Europa League squad that's been announced. We talk about Gabriel Jesus kicking out of Martinez. Arsenal fans getting salty. Well, here's a bit of salt back for you. Lots to still talk about, but let's watch this video. And make sure you tweet Gary Neville.
They took 24 million quid out of the club about 2 months ago. We've got now a decrepit, rotting stadium that is, to be fair, second rate when it was the best stadium in the world 15, 20 years ago. You've got a football project where they haven't got a clue. You've put bankers in charge of the football club, not making football decisions. They've not appointed a sporting director, right? We can look at the players all you like, but there are that many big things that need to be put right first. They've got to show up and basically face the music. Now's the time.
British billionaire Sir Jim Radcliffe wants to buy a stake in Manchester United with a view to taking full control if the club is for sale. One source has told us he's serious about owning the club and former players would be involved in any potential offer. The development follows reports that the Glazer family are considering selling a minority stake in the club. United have declined to comment about rumours and speculation. Ratcliffe is a United fan, has invested in several sports teams in recent years. According to Forbes, overnight is worth £10.8 billion.
You can't get away from the ownership issue, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. Under the current owners, this is what United is going to be like.
The only money that's been spent on players at Manchester United is the money the club has generated or that it's borrowed.
We have seen many anti-Glazer protests at Old Trafford down the years, and this was one of the biggest. Tens of thousands of United supporters pouring down to Matt Busby Way. This protest organised by the 1958, one of the Manchester United supporters groups. They wanted it to be a peaceful protest and a legal one too, and that's what they got. It was full of passion and anger towards the Glazer family. They are still so upset with them for landing this club in hundreds of millions of pounds of debt. The interest on that debt comes to about £19 million a year in interest payments. There's so much more that the fans are unhappy with the Glazer ownership, the way they've structured the club, putting perceived bankers in charge of football decisions. They also tried to lead them into a European Super League, and of course this is the only club in the Premier League which pays its owners dividends.
Because the way they bought the club and the way they loaded debt onto the club and the way the club has to pay those debts off means that United are going to fall further and further behind very well run clubs where you've got owners who put money in, not owners who take money out.
An apology perhaps. Are the fans just customers to you, Mr. Glazer?
Manchester United need £1 billion in this next 2-3 years to either rebuild or renovate that stadium. They probably need another £500-600 million for training ground and other infrastructure projects and football investment. They've only got £40-50 million cash left in the bank. They were cash rich 3 years ago. They had £350 million in the bank. They've no longer got that money in the bank. Something is going to have to give soon, very, very soon.
Well, with the protests over for now, all eyes turn on those potential takeover talks. Last week, Manchester United fan and very businessman Sir Jim Ratcliffe confirmed that he would be interested in buying Manchester United if it were ever put up for sale. The fans that have been here tonight will be hoping that he sticks to his word and forces the Glazers into leaving their club.
And he's always said that he was potentially interested in buying United if they were put up for sale. And that has now been confirmed. He said that, look, this is not about money as far as Sir Jim is concerned. It just feels like the time is right for a reset at Manchester United.
They're definitely the videos I'm most proud of doing on United People's TV. I've got a couple of people who comment, Sam, music's a bit too loud. I'm sure it'd sound better if you weren't listening to it on the live stream. But look, do what you can against the Glazers. I'll continue doing what I can against the Glazers. I've actually just written a message here. Let me see if this goes in there. It does. Right. So I've left that as a comment there. I've written out a tweet. Send that on Twitter to Gary Neville, and I'll send it to him as well from United People's TV. We can see if we can make enough noise that we can get Gary Neville on here, because I think that would be a very, very powerful interview. We can make that happen, and it'll only help the cause. A couple of people, Gungshi, I saw you gifted 5 memberships during the video or just before, and Alex Raha, you've gifted 5 as well. Honestly, absolute dons, both of you. This community is going somewhere. It really is going somewhere. We're going somewhere. It's already got somewhere. We can make it bigger and better across the course of the season. Imagine we can somehow, even if we can contribute 0.5% or 1% of it to getting the Glazers out, that would be monumental if we can do that. So do what you can. But as I said, there's that tweet there that I've just posted in as a comment on YouTube and Facebook. Send that to Gary Neville. We'll try and get him on. But let's have a quick roundup of the rest of the news as well. Manchester United's Europa League squad was announced this week. Let me pull this up here. This is the full squad that can be played. And there are a couple of absences. You will see here in the defenders, there's 2 names missing. Well, it's two names that I've noticed anyway. Phil Jones and Brandon Williams. Neither of them have been named in the Europa League squad. Neither of them, therefore, can play in Manchester United's group stages. Any of the group stage games, they can't play. I believe Brandon Williams got an injury. And we don't know what the hell was going on with Phil Jones, man. We've been told previously that he was on a individual training plan. He didn't go on the preseason tour. He wasn't really... It's like he's training in the gym on his own and being locked away. Like Quasimodo. Bit harsh. I know. Good film, though, not Phil Jones, I've no idea what's wrong with Phil Jones. Either injured or he's just doing his own training. Whatever he's doing, Phil Jones is not going to be playing in the Europa League. Therefore, he's not going to be playing for Manchester United. Simply put, he's not playing in the Premier League. He's 5th, 6th choice centre-back. 5th or 6th. Anyway, Phil Jones isn't going to get a minute in the Premier League. So I imagine it's getting towards the point where Phil Jones is probably just going to terminate his own contract, or Manchester United are just going to terminate his contract. I don't know whether he's training, but I saw some reports that he's been kicked out of the dressing room. I'm not going to spread stories like that. That's mad speculation. Don't know whether, but he's just not involved, and there's something going on there, and it might just be an injury, and it might be something different. But Phil Jones will not play in the Europa League, and neither will Brandon Williams. There's a name down there that's missing, of course, from the forwards. It's the only other one I've noticed. That's Anthony Elanga, but that's because he's on the B list. You'll know in fact, I think it's explained up here. The A list and the B list in terms of the league. Where is it down here? There you go. The B list. So the B list, when it comes to the Europa League, Manchester United can add anybody onto that B list that's considered homegrown within 24 hours of kickoff. So it's not too much of an issue at all that Anthony Langer's not on there, because he'll just get added on to the B list, which I don't think the B list has been announced. And anybody else that wants to get added onto that B list, they can get added on as long as they're homegrown. Is that what it is? UEFA rules stating that club-trained players born or after the 1st of January do not have to be counted as part of the main group. So yeah, that's exactly why. But look, I have no idea what's going on with Phil Jones. I'm not going to speculate and say that he's been booted out of the first team. I don't know whether it's the case or not, but he's just a ghost. He's just absolutely a ghost. Paul Ingram, look at that. That's not very nice. I'm sitting here. I've got a fan on. It's because it's warm. I'm wearing a fleece, though. Kind of counterproductive, that is. On holiday in Rhodes, chilling by the pool. Man, I want a holiday. B list. The B list is simply, you got the main list is you've got 25-man squad that you have to announce for the Europa League, and the B list is anybody who's a homegrown talent that's born after April 2001 can be added onto that list instead. So you can have more than 25 players on your list. That's effectively what it is. But Jones, bit weird, bit odd. I'm pretty sure Ronaldo's in the Europa League squad. I'm pretty sure there'll be a massive conversation if it wasn't. Let me go down there, see forwards. Yeah, there he is. It's going to be weird, but I actually think we'll see. I think you'll see Ronaldo start in the Europa League on Thursday. Really, really do. Moving on, someone else who may or may not start. I don't think he'll start, or maybe he will just to get match fitness because he needs it. Anthony was speaking about his debut and his debut goal, and he said, "Look, from the moment I stepped onto the pitch, I already had goosebumps because I know how much I wanted to be here, and I know how much the crowd wanted this. When I saw the ball going in and the net shaking, I expressed all my feelings the way I did. It gave me goosebumps for sure. And of course, in the celebration, we saw how to see a player kissing the badge after scoring his first goal, that's going straight in the deep end there. 2-footed, straight in from Anthony. But I tell you what, I've not seen a player push for a transfer more than Anthony pushed for that transfer. I'm not just talking about Manchester United either. I'm sure there are other examples of other clubs you can tell me about of players like that. But Anthony did everything within his power to make sure that move happened. And I stand by the fact that I think Anthony would still be playing for Ajax if he didn't do everything that he did to force that move. From refusing to train, from handing in an official transfer request, from being left out of match day squads as a consequence, to doing that interview with Fabrizio Romano. I mean, you saw how much it meant to him. Scoring that goal, man, I was so happy for him. I think that's why I celebrated that goal so hard, because I know how much of an impact that's going to have on Anthony now across the course of the season. Because that could have lingered for the game against Arsenal, and then, maybe Palace doesn't score, and then Leeds doesn't score, and then you go, 3 games he hasn't scored, and we're going up against City. And then the questions would get asked and asked, and the media would just turn the screw. They can't do that. They've got no screw to turn now. Anthony scored on his debut. Big relief for him, and it means he'll be able to express himself a little bit more without the pressure of needing that first goal. So I imagine he's going to be better against Crystal Palace. Don't think it was the most incredible performance against Arsenal, but he scored. That's it. That's the most important thing. It's like Roy Keane said after the game. He goes, I don't care how well Arsenal played. You conceded 3 goals and you lost. Doesn't matter what you did. Doesn't matter how many times you passed it around. United were comfortable, man. Arsenal had a lot of ball, a lot of possession, but defensively, I mean, they had the Saka goal, but I don't know how many other shots on target they had if they had any other ones. And I tell you what, man, I'm going to replay this video a few times. So this is Martinez there. I don't know whether he knows. I reckon Martinez knows exactly where Jesus is, and he's just backing into him with his arm. But look at Jesus' right leg. You can see here, this is in the 39th minute when Manchester United are 1-0 up. Jesus down there on the floor, kicking out and lashing out at Martinez. If that was seen, if Martinez, at that moment in time, if Martinez had gone down, right? If Martinez had gone down there, holding his leg, which he could have done, easily could have done, it would have been a red card and a 3-match ban for Gabriel Jesus without question from VAR. You simply put, you cannot lash out like that in football, right? I don't hear any Arsenal fans speaking about this. All they want to speak about is the fact that Christian Eriksen was fouled. I don't know how any Arsenal fan is getting annoyed about that fact. Quite literally, the ball is one side, Eriksen's in the middle, and Odegaard is behind Eriksen trying to kick the ball. He doesn't touch the ball. He kicks Eriksen, and Eriksen goes down. I mean, what more could you want for a foul? And as I said, Arsenal fans, just pipe the fuck down. Salty dudes, thinking everything's coming up rosy because they've beaten, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Fulham. I don't know who else that. Pipe down. But my point here is that if Martinez wanted to get Jesus sent off, that was a guaranteed red card. Guaranteed. Right? But he didn't. So Arsenal fans just... And why are they so not? They've got such a crap record at Old Trafford, even when they were flying high. I think it was the year that Rashford scored 2 after his 2 against Midtjylland on his debut. That was one of my favourite days. I remember that day at Old Trafford. It was great. I was back in the corner in J stand. Rashford scored 2. I think that was the time where Arsenal came and they were top of the league, and they were expected to win, and they still didn't. Arsenal fans, just know your place, man. Jesus Christ. I don't know who the worst fans are. I still think it's Liverpool, but Arsenal fans are right up there. I mean, they have not won the league since 2004. They've never won the Champions League. Still, though, that's what I mean. It's about reaction bias. Nobody should be getting hyped about winning your first 5 games, certainly against the players, the teams they've won against, and they've done it to themselves. And now that it's unraveled, and other teams are fairly and rightly just attacking them because. Why are you overhyping it? Why are you saying like Joel on what is it? Joel on Vibe with 5 yesterday with Rio, literally saying that William Saliba was better than Rio Ferdinand was at 21. It's when you say outrageous stuff like that that you can get called out on it. And don't be so offended when people do. That's what I think so anyway. Really, really weird. Really odd. Now, the game on Thursday, let's wrap up here with this gallery of training. You got Anthony there with Delo. Both of those speak Portuguese. Eric Ten Hag was speaking about it, actually. Said before the game, the two sat down and had a conversation. Delo, for me, is the most improved player so far this season. Scott McTominay's right up there with him. It's toe-to-toe as to who you choose. And we spoke about that on the podcast, actually. But Delo's been amazing. Really has. And that is a partnership on the right-hand side. Delo and Anthony, there you go. That's a conversation I can get behind. That's a partnership I can get behind. I'm looking forward to seeing how that can develop across the course of the season. And the fact that they both speak Portuguese is really handy. Really is. For communication purposes anyway. Jadon Sancho there training, of course. You've got Eriksen. I mean, please rest Eriksen. Please rest Eriksen against Sociedad. I swear to God, if I see Eriksen in that starting 11, he's not got a pacemaker in there. He's a robot if he starts there against Sociedad. Varane, Champions League Varane. I think he'll be rested. You've got Sancho, Bruno, and Malacia there with Ronaldo. Benny McCarthy chilling out in the background, getting 3 goals in. Rashford looking good. Maybe Benny McCarthy's sort of like getting some, I don't know, some South African striker knowledge, and he's imparting it onto Marcus Rashford. Wherever it is, Marcus Rashford was very good in that second half against Arsenal. Zidane. I'd love to see a bit of Zidane, man. He was cracking in the preseason tour. Garnacho, I definitely want to see him. Casemiro and Fred, I imagine we'll see them. Dubravka, you would anticipate he'd make his debut. Lindelof, I think, is back and fully fit. Maguire, I imagine he'll start. We're going to have a full second 11, I think, coming out for this game. I'm going to release my team later on. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Genuinely, I'm not just saying this because I want to. Actually, no, that's exactly why I'm saying it. I'm genuinely looking forward to the game on Thursday. I think it's another big test for Eric Ten Hag and what he's trying to do with this team. He needs to know that he can put his second 11 in and get a similar sort of performance, the same sort of intensity, the same sort of football, at least part of it. Maybe not as good, maybe not as quick, maybe not as high tempo, but the same sort of style. It can't just be put a different 11 in and it's a totally different style of football altogether. That can't happen. That's why it's really important that we make a lot of changes for this game. Maguire's got to start. Lindelof's got to start. Casemiro and Fred have got to start. There's quite a few starters, in my opinion, and I'll run through that team later on. But look, first thing I want, a couple of notes to finish on here. Please, if you would, give a listen to the podcast. I'll drop the link again down here as a comment. Right. If you haven't listened to it yet, I really enjoy it. We do it once a week, and it's starting to get more and more popular. It's really, it's quite a struggle, actually, to start a podcast and to build it all up. And we've got such a great community here. So if you can listen to it, drop it a 5-star review, share it elsewhere, that would really, really help. But the final message I want to say one more time here on United People's TV is this. I'm going to put it down here in the comments again one more time. Tweet that to Gary Neville. I'm going to tweet him after this video as well. Try and get him on to United People's TV for an interview. Damn it. So far on YouTube, I've managed to avoid being clipped up, but someone got me dirty there. You did. Never going to live that down. Just nobody needs to clip it up. Just leave it in here. If you were here, you enjoyed it. That's great. Just don't take it anywhere else. I don't know. It was funny, man. Fair play to you. You got me. You got me good. That's the last time anybody's ever getting me. I hope. But look, thank you all for joining in. It's all about the Glazers this show today. Let's focus on, well, let's get them the fuck out of the club. As Gary Neville said, the time is right for the Glazers to sell. Let's try and make it happen. You do what you do. Make sure you drop a like on United People's TV on the whole thing. I don't really know what that is, but look, take it easy, everyone.